My name is Alma Dickerson Wheeler. I'm from Bristol, Tennessee, and now live in Bristol, Virginia. My parents were Robert H. and Alma Dickerson. My mother was from Parrotsville, Tennessee, and my dad was from some part of West Virginia. They are buried over at Mountain View Cemetery. Well, I was actually in the 7th grade when it hit, but I was born, I was raised up on English Street, and it was English Street, Woodlawn Avenue, up that whole area, and it's where there were it was a lot of interesting things going on. Well, first I went to Lincoln Elementary School. It was a 4-grade school. It was only about 4 blocks from where I lived, and Central Elementary School was only 2 blocks from where I lived. And we had to walk past Central to get to Lincoln. And I lived even back then, I lived in a mixed neighborhood, and we couldn't figure out why we had to go to one school and they went to the other school. Yeah, we even spent nights together and things, and when it was time for school, they went to their school and we went to ours. Oh yeah, in the neighborhood, like was a family called the Campers, and it was Charlotte and those, and then we had the Daggs family. You know, we were just all mixed. You know, you had a black house here, white house there. You know, we all played together. From Lincoln, a lot of the kids had to come from Bluff City. They were bused up here from Bluff City because they didn't have a black school or colored school back then, in Bluff City, so they came up here. And there were a lot of different families. It was the Madisons, the Wells family. You know, we had the Tabors, we had my family. It was just a mixture. We didn't have a bus. Those of us who walked to school, our parents carpooled in the winter, or else we just put on our boots and went on to school. They had a bus, and the bus would bring them every morning. And then when school was out, it would take them back home. My first grade teacher was Miss Frida Henderson. Actually, my principal was also my neighbor, Mary Collins, and her husband was a teacher. There was Sharon Duff and Elizabeth Houston. Yes, after Lincoln, we went to Slater. From the 5th grade, kindergarten through 6th grade was downstairs. Then 7th grade through 12th grade was upstairs. We walked to school when it was pretty. We were told to always stay on the road, but we would kind of venture off because it used to be Beecham Pharmaceuticals. It was actually King College, and they had steps, and we would go down the steps, go across the railroad tracks, run across the baseball field, through the alley, and get back on the street. Let's see, my first teacher was Miss Cloyd. She was our 5th grade teacher, and she was a good teacher. Then our 6th grade teacher was Miss Ozetta Brown, and I don't know if I should say this, but you know how kids are, right? And Miss Brown wore a wig, and some of the boys would actually you know, try to take a wig off or put thumbtacks in her chair. But it was still a good time because during then we would have like, we'd have Bible once a month, and then we would have Spanish once a month. And the teachers, they were white teachers, and they would come and teach us, you know. So it was interesting. We finished the 7th grade. We heard about it, you know. We were actually excited to get upstairs with the older kids. And so we were finishing 7th grade, and we found out that we had to go to Vance Middle School, which actually spoiled all of our plans. We did get to come up, but that was when, you know, once a year you would either go to Gatlinburg or Washington, D.C. And 8th grade would have been our year to go to Washington, which we didn't get to go. And, you know, be in the parades and things. And, you know, we weren't that concerned about going to school with the other kids. It was missing out on everything. My mom talked to me a little bit, but having had the experience of growing up with other kids, it wasn't that bad. But some of our classmates dropped out because of that. Some of the teachers were mean, you know, and some of them, you know, like when it came to history about slavery, you know, things like that, we really didn't learn a lot because they were afraid to teach it to us. But for the most part, the few of us that stayed, you know, we were the first class to graduate from Vance Middle School and the first class to go to Tennessee High School for 4 full years and graduate. We had one teacher, it was Miss Gwynn. She was our history, social studies. And I think a lot of it was that she just didn't know how to teach us or, you know, what to do. We did have a black teacher that was mean to us. And it was because back then, you know, you wore dresses or skirts, and in his class, no one was allowed to wear pants, and they had it to where we could wear pants on Fridays for the football game. And he would actually take us to the office if we wore pants, or he would take a ruler, you know, and spank us, or, you know, we didn't understand it all back then, but now, because he would have all the girls sit up front and the boys in the back. And his name was Mr. Williams. But outside of that, for the good part, most of them tried to be nice to us. You know, the bad part about it was, and a lot of it still goes on to this day, it was like who you knew, like being, you know, trying out for cheerleading, sports and things like that. Our kids, unless they were exceptionally well, we didn't get to do those things. And I will hand it to my phys ed teacher, Miss Pinkston, who I think she finally retired, but she's still around. She really took us in, you know, and things like that. A lot of the kids, there wasn't too much racial problems every now and then, but it really wasn't that bad. I know, we got to have fun, you know, they would have activities that we got to participate in. some of the richer kids would have parties, and we'd get invited to those things. We always stuck together as a group, and we would do things together, like going to the movies or, and that was another thing. At the movies, we were told that we had to sit in the balcony, or at the Paramount, you had to sit in the very back. And we broke all of those rules. We didn't do any of those things. We would go downtown, window shopping. We would go to H.P. King's. And in the back of H.P. King's, they had the water fountains. And we would look out for one another and drink from the white water fountain to see if it was different. And there wasn't any difference whatsoever. We just couldn't figure it out. But our parents didn't find out about it, or else we'd get in trouble. But the movies was funny because although they said that we had to go up to the balcony, they would let our group, go down in the bottom part. We went up to the balcony to see what it was about, and we didn't like it, so, they let us sit down there. See, they had a thing on Saturday mornings where you could collect pop bottle caps, and all of us would get to go to that. And you take 10 pop bottle caps and you could go in, and we sat down with the rest of the kids.